When you make decisions for your company, you look for the no-brainers. And if you have a lot of mailing to do, Stamps.com is the ultimate no-brainer. Mail checks, invoices, documents, and everything you need to keep your business running. Get rates up to 89% off USPS and UPS. And with the mobile app, you can take care of mailing on the go. Make the same no-brainer decisions as over 1 million other businesses with Stamps.com. Sign up at Stamps.com with code PROGRAM for a special offer. That's Stamps.com, code PROGRAM.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Welcome to Comedy Album Book Club. This week we chat with Mary Kennedy about Kelly Zemnickis' Sugar and Spice and Smirnoff Ice. Yum. Stay tuned for Comedy Album Book Club. Thanks for tuning in. This is Matt Ardill, your host, and this week I have a real treat. I am joined by Mary Kennedy, my co-host on Order Up, or another podcast that I work on, but she is also an amazingly funny comedian. She has a one-woman show, terrific actor. She was New Fiona on Shameless. And today we're talking about our friend Kelly Zemnickis' album, Sugar and Spice and Smirnoff Ice. It is a hilarious album. Kelly, you may remember her from our last episode. She is a Toronto-based comedian. She has been doing this for many years now, and you can see her hosting multiple shows around the city, and just generally being a kick-ass funny person. She also regularly performs around the world. So yeah, check her out. Definitely buy her album, Sugar and Spice and Smirnoff Ice. It is on Bandcamp. I highly recommend it. Go and buy it now before you listen to this episode. That way you can enjoy it the most. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and welcome to Comedy Album Book Club.
Did Kelly's dad level up for the honeymoon? No, why would he do that? No, he took my mom on an all-expenses-paid trip to the laundry room. It was lovely. No, he did better. He took her on a business trip. That's what my dad did. Took my mom on So for the honeymoon, my mom was with my dad and 300 men from a crayon company. What young lady doesn't dream of that when she gets married, you know? A honeymoon business trip. It's delightful. It's delightful. But the crayon company treated them well. At the end of the trip, they gifted my parents with a beautiful, "Your wife will be asking for a divorce" blue. It's a great crayon. It's lovely. My mom likes to wave it around at my dad when they get angry. Gonna use it. But yeah, so hey, if anyone here is thinking about proposing to their loved one, may I suggest the bathroom proposal? Because sure, you know, a diamond lasts forever. But a toilet proposal that's the gift that keeps on giving. Really, it's really beautiful.
So welcome to Comedy Album Book Club. I'm joined with Mary Kennedy, my fellow Order Up podcaster, comedian, actor, all-around awesome human being. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. I love talking comedy albums and anything comedy. So thanks for having me. I'm wearing my Pips t-shirt. Nobody can see it because it's a podcast from New York, from Sheepshead Bay, New York. So I thought, let me put my comedy costume on so we can talk about it.
Perfect. So you chose our friend Kelly Zemnickis' album, Sugar and Spice and Smirnoff Ice. So what inspired you to choose that album?
Well, so Kelly is younger than me. I'll just put it out there so she doesn't feel like I'm aging her. She's younger than me, but she's talking about stuff that I'm interested in. Like, she talks about pantsuits. Like, I understand, and menopause and relationships and her parents and, our generation, we're dealing with all of those kind of issues. I mean, pantsuits is a real problem. What's refreshing about her album is it's in my sort of age range and voice. I feel right now, and again, and it's not to, I'm like, listen, our millennial friends are kicking it. They're doing a great job. Yeah. They're louder and faster and, more organized in some senses than my generation. But I'm not hearing my voice and their issues. And so to sit and listen to Kelly's album, not only was it funny, but I could identify with what she is going through, how she's handling it. And she just has such a positive attitude, even though some of the stuff she's talking about is a little bit dark, that, it helps. And I think it's important because I think at this age in my life anyway, there are times that I feel really alone because I don't feel anyone understands what I'm going through. It's, and I turned on her album and I was like, wait a second, she gets it. And so that's why I picked it.
Yeah. I mean, Kelly is just a really nice person through and through.
Right.
And we get to share that on Order Up, the podcast that we do with her. But I mean, it also carries through to all of her material because like one of the things like the album feels conversational, it feels engaging, and it feels personal. But in a way that's just like you're sitting with a friend, like just a very funny friend who's sharing their stories with you, which is one of the things I really liked about the album.
Yeah, and she also, the audience, I felt were her friends. I mean, and I felt like they just got her from the minute that she started her album. And I think that's important, especially, anyway, for me and my comedy, I just want people to know more about me. And I really feel like by the end of the album, we really got to know who Kelly is and we want to know more about her. And that I think is a successful album.
Yeah. And full disclosure, my laugh is riddled throughout that album. So, and it's very off-putting. I'm like, oh my God, I sound like a lunatic.
That was you. Yeah. I knew it sounded familiar. Hey, listen, if I tape an album or a special, I'm going to fly you to Los Angeles to be on the album. So just so you know.
Sounds good. Yeah, there's a few albums throughout the city that I've gone to the recordings of that I'm just like, oh, I really laugh with my heart and soul. Now, how did you first meet Kelly?
It's really interesting. I met Kelly over Zoom, much the way that Kelly met her boyfriend over Zoom, but we didn't date because I was married. But anyway, kidding. I met her over Zoom, and it's interesting, even though Zoom was kind of by the end very 2D, I think a lot of us were just like, I did 180 Zoom shows because I was working on my hour. She came across as 3D on the Zoom. And, she sort of reached out to me. I think when Kelly knows what she wants to do, she doesn't let anything stop her. No. And so she said, would you like to be part of a podcast? And I was at a point, I've done podcasts before, and I was really looking for a podcast that was fun and easy to produce where I could just talk with a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
And that's what Order Up is. And, it's me, the American, and three Canadians. And I feel like you guys are so nice. I mean, when I came to Toronto to do a show, you guys treated me like, the Queen had arrived. And and that's Kelly. I mean, she just said, do you want to do this? And I was like, absolutely, sign me up. And then when I found out that you and Carrie Aim were involved, I was like, this totally makes sense. And I say this to you guys a lot. I said, I feel like I've known you guys forever. And I feel that way with Kelly. Like, I feel like I've known Kelly my whole life. And so, yeah, that's how and then I got to see her comedy, and she came out to Burbank for Burbank Comedy Festival. And I just, I really got to know her when we opened up after the pandemic.
And I mean, that's one of the things that I find, comes through in her album too, is, and in all of her comedy, but in the album in particular, it's just very welcoming, and it's universal. Like it is directed towards people of a certain age, and our age group as we get older and suffer from our various ailments and body changes.
Right.
But there's still some like the stories about her parents are so delightful. And her dad, her impression of her father.
Yeah, who's Latvian, but
yes.
He I got to hang and live at their house when I was out in Toronto, and I got to meet the fam. And her mom is English and her dad is Latvian. And he would come out into the kitchen when I was getting breakfast, and he was very concerned that I wasn't eating enough. And he'd be like, "Can I make you an egg? Can I make you this?" And it was, I felt like I was home. And that's really important, especially when you go, I had never been to Toronto before. And so it really felt like family, and Kelly feels like family. And one of my favorite bits on the album is when she talks about her parents' honeymoon, and that her dad took her mom to a crayon convention for their honeymoon. Like, I don't know. My honeymoon was in Maui, but okay. I mean, I just, I get it. Like, if I was responsible for planning my honeymoon, I probably would have done a comedy set, which my husband wouldn't have been happy about, but I probably would have did a comedy tour,
Yeah. We have a trip to Miami in a couple of months, and it's part of it. The first half of it, I'm doing a business trip, and then we're staying a little bit longer. And then my plan is to try to get some stage time while I'm down there. So and vacation doesn't mean I get to rest. It just means I get to work in different places.
Well, and is your wife with you in Miami?
Yes. Yeah, and my mother-in-law. So that's why I figure I've got a... So we're bringing the mother-in-law to Miami. So.
Yeah, well, and you'll sneak out, because I did that in New York. Like, my husband, we were there for a wedding, and our kids were with us, and he's like, no shows. But I'm in New York City. So like, I'm on, the Facebook, and I'm like, people go, can you perform here? And it was like at a youth hostel. And I was sneaking out. I was like, oh, I think I'm going to go to Zabar's. And my husband's like, you are not going to Zabar's. You have a gig. And I go, no. And he's like, Mary, you're in full hair and makeup. You're going to a gig. I'm like, all right, see you later. And I was like, see you later. Bye-bye. But you know what I mean? So it's, and here's the other thing about comedy albums that I want to talk about. And this is also me coming in as a teacher. I really feel like what was so nice about this comedy album, and not that it's a bad thing when you are sort of moved around through network. Like, if she was doing a network special, say, right? I feel like sometimes when they want sort of the style of the network, or the people that are involved in booking you for the album want a certain tone, sometimes we lose the essence of the performer that is there, because they have to adhere. I mean, we've seen this a lot on specials. We've seen this especially on network TV, where the FCC in America anyway is like right in your ear. So what I loved about the way she did this album is, I don't feel like her voice was at all diluted. I don't feel like she was doing this album for anyone but her friends, her family, and herself. And, I feel like for us as comics, we have to sometimes our identity is elevated, but I really feel like Kelly's identity was pretty close to what we're used to seeing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to listen to too. I didn't sit there and go, oh, that's set a punch, set a punch, set a punch. Like, it was very conversational and funny. Not that it wasn't funny, but I didn't feel like Kelly was on, and this is my album. And, so it was really easy to listen to. I don't know. Did you feel that way too?
Yeah, I did as well. I mean, it had, like, if I had to
Our bodies come in different shapes and sizes, so doesn't it make sense that our weight loss plans should too? That's the beauty of Noom. They build a personal plan that factors in dietary restrictions, medical issues, and other personal needs so your plan works for you. Noom doesn't restrict or shame when you want to treat yourself. Their flexible program focuses on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs or anything. And with their daily lessons, you can learn something new about your food choices every day. After just a few days of using the app, I learned how to recognize cues for overeating and how to choose the right foods to feel full. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. And check out Noom's first ever cookbook, The Noom Kitchen, for 100 healthy and delicious recipes to promote better living. Available to buy now wherever books are sold.
compare the feeling to another comedian, I'd say kind of like Mike Birbiglia, in that there was a thread of a story through there that, about her life, about the last, several years through the pandemic and her journey as a comedian to that moment. It felt like, hearing a friend letting you know how they were doing and what was going through their head. It felt like too, like one of the things I liked is, she is kind of making lemonade from lemons at some points, like with the dating stuff.
Yep.
And that she just, went on to start dating another man she met from Zoom not long after that. I'm like, that's a bold choice, but this one worked out. So cool. But yeah, and I mean, I just love how she takes these events in her life and turns it into funny moments and funny stories to share.
Well, and listen, there's a joke out here in Los Angeles that female comics, all they talk about is dating and driving. So, it's like, I mean, I've been married over 20 years and I do drive in LA, but I haven't dated since, I was on Match.com for like 2 seconds. So it was nice. And then I met my husband, like the normal sort of, I was introduced begrudgingly. His best friend was afraid to introduce me to his best friend because he was afraid that like I was going to ruin his life, but I didn't. So anyway, I'm a lot. I'm not for everybody. But anyway, what I was going to say is that I think the dating bits are refreshing, and it's not, I don't feel that sometimes when I hear people in general, it doesn't matter, male, female, talk dating, sometimes I feel there's a victim part of it. Like, oh, poor me, I just can't date, give me a break. Like, why doesn't, I didn't feel that way with Kelly. I felt like Kelly is totally fine, whether she finds somebody or she doesn't. And she wants to let us know, like, sort of the trials and tribulations that she went through. And that to me was really refreshing. And I think something, again, that we can all identify with, she made it more in a weird way. She made it personal, but global all at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I didn't feel like I didn't identify, because there was a time in my life when I was trying to find somebody. And there was a time in my life where it wasn't fun. And, I was on Match.com for a minute for a reason, so I applaud her for that. And also to hear the dating stuff in Canada. I think for us Americans, Canada is a bit of an anomaly. Like we kind of like are impressed with you because you guys seem much nicer than everybody else. You seem to have your shit together. Your food is a little weird, but for the most part, like I think America, we look at you like, oh, if everything really goes to crap, I'll just go to Canada. So it was nice to hear her take on it, and that it happens everywhere. It's just, it's not New York, it's not LA. It can happen in Toronto too.
Yeah, no, it can. Now, do you have a favorite bit from the album?
I liked when I have to say, and I'm bringing it up again, I liked the crayons, the crayon convention. That was my favorite.
I wanted to hear more about that crayon convention. Like, if I ever meet her dad again, I'm going to ask him about it, because it's just like, what happens at a crayon convention? Like, do they just like debate rappers and crayon color names? Like that's a story in itself. And I think that's the thing, is like, wait a sec, she said crayon convention?
Well, and if you think about it, well, it's like from The Devil Wears Prada, like cerulean blue. I had no idea that was color, you know what I mean? But it kind of like, and again, this isn't to do any shade with their parents. They were the most lovely people I've like ever met. And I met her dog too. I think when you hear your parents' journey in marriage, like, my parents, they were married, then my mother came out of the closet. So, it just sort of didn't really work the way we thought it all was going to work. Their honeymoon was in Bermuda. Some things went wrong with a horse. Like my mother, like hated riding the horse. Like there were signs that, maybe this isn't going to work out. With Kelly, like I have such a picture of who her parents are. And in a weird way, it makes sense that they went to a crayon convention, and her mother was kind of like, all right, like.
Well, and given that like the proposal, and this is in the album, the proposal came from the toilet. Yeah, it's just like, this is all very on brand. This is just But
it kind of gives Kelly this skewed view of, like, I don't know if Kelly would be like, I think Kelly would be like, we're not going to go to a crayon convention. Like, I think she has an idea of kind of what should be. And I just think it makes sense. And her parents put the seeds in very early for her to become a stand-up comedian.
Yes. They gave her material out of the gate.
Well, and also, and sorry to interrupt you, but I just thought of this. Also, with her father being Latvian, we don't hear about that. Like, that's another thing. And then you think, he's Latvian and he's up in Toronto. And, Kelly also had a life in Quebec. So it's this very sort of worldly kind of existence. I don't know. It's a lot.
It's a Canadian was one of the Canadian immigrant experiences that, and in comedy, you get a lot of, and I welcome all of these different stories and different viewpoints, but hers isn't one that you really see very often. Like an Anglo Europeans, Anglo living in Quebec, moved to Toronto. It's Canadian, it's Canada, and it's very unique in that regard. So it's cool to hear. I mean, for me, one of the things I really loved was when she started talking about getting tattoos late in life. I mean, I didn't borrow the money from my parents, but I was in a similar, and that feels very Gen X. Like for a lot of us, it's like, we're just like, I don't know. This is a big commitment. I know it's okay now, but because, when we were kids, it's like, there's the rebels who did it, but a lot of us were like afraid. I mean, I know I was, and I was like 29, 28 when I got mine.
Right.
So, but I really enjoyed, and the twists. Like, she's very good at like, just the little last minute twists on the jokes where it's like a switcheroo, kind of thing. Like the Duran posters and these little touches that she adds like with a flourish.
Yeah, and you don't expect it, and that's good writing. Yeah. I mean, that's good writing, and also it's in her voice, and that is something that you can't teach that. I've tried to teach it. You can't. Either somebody has that comedy voice where it's uniquely them. I mean, Maria Bamford has that. Maria is unique. Like, that's her voice. No one is gonna go in and steal Maria's stuff. Like, it's Maria. No. And I feel that way with Kelly. It's like nobody else is gonna do Kelly's material. or have Kelly's experiences. And if they did have Kelly's experiences, her view and her look at it make it such a different ride.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that's important to when you're doing an album or when you're on stage or creating a career. But yeah, no, I have not gotten a tattoo because that's a deal breaker for my husband. He no smoking and no tattoos. And I said, all right, but our kid wants one at 17. And I've said, we'll see. And I would be so happy if they did get a tattoo, because then I could just laugh and laugh and laugh.
One of the things I also really enjoyed is like every once in a while she'll like go off in unexpected directions, like the perimenopause fairy that I just like hadn't done any characters up until that point, then just bang right into this character, but it works. And it's just this like the sort of gravelly cigarette smoking kind of voice that she does there. I mean, I'm, lucky in that it is not something that I will ever have to deal with. I know you have a one-woman show that touches on this subject.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it just was like, it just elevates that material in a unique way, and I know it's an important thing for her to discuss those changes and experiences.
Well, the perimenopause, I can't even speak. That's another symptom of menopause is you lose your words. That fairy is hilarious, and the fact that it's gravelly, it's. I don't know. I mean, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. When I read that as a teenager, there was this like incredible mysticism. Like it was this, I'm becoming a woman. There was sort of this light to it. I can't explain it. I mean, you didn't have to go through this, but all the girls, all the teenagers were reading it. We had big discussions, and there was this sort of light, believe it or not. Menopause is not that. Perimenopause is not that. It can be very dark. And so the fact that she kind of put a character to it that's really right on the money is truly, and I know because I've had side conversations with her about it, it's true. And I think it, again, lets us laugh at this part of our life because it's not very laughable. I mean, I know you're married and your wife will go through it at some point and we'll be here for you.
I appreciate that. She's Scottish. She has random bouts of Scottishness, so I'll need that place to hide.
Yeah. Well, that she'll go into perimenopause with a sprinkle of Scottish, but and that was a horrible Scottish accent. But anyway, what I was going to say is that is something, and again, that it was another favorite part of mine of her album because she put into words and into character something that is just. Nobody ever prepares you for it. I mean, this is for my one-woman show, my mother, my grandmother, and my Nana, never talked about menopause. They said it was the change, and we all knew the change was coming, but we had no idea what it was, And so the fact that she does this character gives you kind of an idea, and also that you're not alone, that you can laugh at it because, again, our bodies go through such an enormous change and with no timeline. You could just, and this is what Kelly said to me. She's like, I'm just walking along and then, I'm crying for no reason. I go, yep. Or I'm totally excited and happy for no reason, or I'm really angry for no reason. I mean, that is it. And so, and the fact that she's willing, I had an industry person and I'm so grateful for him. When we were looking at me doing a special, he said, I want you to tell us where you are right in this moment. And I'm like, I'm a mother of 2 teenagers. I'm going through menopause and I'm in a long-term marriage. He's like, that's what I want to hear about.
Yeah.
And that's what Kelly's doing. And so at the end of the day, I think we really need to be truthful in our story. And she does it. So it's great.
Awesome. All right. Well, if people wanted to find you on social media, find your performances, where can they look?
Well, it's really easy. You go at M. Kennedy Comedy. So M as in Mary, Kennedy, like those folks in the Hyannisport, comedy. And that's all my socials, Facebook, Instagram. I don't have Twitter. And then look out for Midlife Mood Swing. We are currently on tour. I hope to be up in Canada. I have to talk to Mr. Ardill about that. But yeah, no, I'm really excited. And yeah, that's it. So thanks. This has been fun.
Yeah, thank you. You've been listening to Comedy Album Book Club, a Far From Here comedy and ShowbizMonkeys.com co-production. Music today was performed and produced by Glenn Bouchon, Tim Matthews, Edith Falkenberg, and Jim Spruill, also known as the Something Something Quartet. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week to Comedy Album Book Club.
You know how to book flights and hotels. All you're missing is a tool to plan the travel experiences you'll have once you arrive. That's why you need Viator. Book guided tours, excursions, and more in one place. There are over 300,000 travel experiences to choose from, so you can find something for everyone. And Viator offers free cancellation and 24/7 customer support for worry-free travel. Download the Viator app now and use code Viator10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. Find travel experiences for you. Do more with Viator.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.